fly out from Florida.
Oh, that'd be
So
great.
I need, I need more information, but it sounds interesting.
Yeah.
You,
That'd
you,
be great.
That'd
you,
be great if we could all get together and do this. Yeah.
That'd be great.
That
And
is
maybe, and so where is it again?
Stony
Stony
Stone
Point,
Point,
New York, Stony
New
Point,
York.
New York. You can get more information by going to John's website, which is miraclesmagazine.org. Miracles,
Oh, John's doing it.
John
yeah, it's
Mundy,
John Mundy.
miraclesmagazine.org. Yeah.
John Mundy and Vicky Poppy. It's the One Mind Foundation that's doing it.
It's a whole
So,
weekend? Is it 2 days,
yes,
3 days?
three
Yeah.
days. Yeah,
You
yeah,
said
the whole,
the 4th to the 7th.
yes, of September.
Yeah, I have that written down.
But you
I
can't, people aren't signing up yet, right?
I, I, I,
Uh,
I
not
don't
yet,
think
not
so.
yet. No.
Yeah.
No, but when we do get the information, we will be sending it out so everybody can sign up. So,
Sounds
okay.
great.
Is this going to be part of my video or no?
yep, it's on your video right now.
It's on my video. Okay. So, because it's like, oh my God, it's 2:35 already. And
I
I'm
can
not
close it
sure
out
what
and
I
start
have
it
to
soon.
say, but I'm always inspired listening to Myrna and Michelle.
Mhm.
And what you just read about the message of the crucifixion
Mhm.
is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful. I mean, there's so many teachings, but it's so specific to the life of Jesus, and it's so specific to our lives because we are an extension of that, so I might pick up on it a little bit more as I get into my talk, but it's very, very, very important. There's a whole section about Easter, and there's a quote that I was thinking about when you were talking, Michelle, Susan, and Susan Michelle, right? So the quote was something like, my resurrection comes again and again every time you forgive." And that is, so powerful. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's the thrust or the message of the crucifixion. I think on the next page, it says something like, the message of the crucifixion is teach only love, for that is what you are. And that's what we are. What's the word? Um, Inspired to do, instructed to do. Like our focus is just forgive wherever you are. That that's because in demonstrating forgiveness, we are being like Jesus.
Mhm.
He had his lessons. That was, that's the last useless journey part. He had his lessons. And somewhere Larry used to talk about this, my husband, somewhere he said, Jesus said that you don't, and it does say you don't have to crucify yourself, that we react as though, like when we're the victim, we react as though we're being crucified and get all upset and angry and victimized and want to retaliate and go through that whole attack defense cycle. But Jesus never did that. He never responded or reacted. Um, and there was something else that just came in. So the message of the crucifixion is teach only love, for that is what you are. Yeah, and the last useless journey is we no longer have to go through crucifixion to see we emerge on the other side resurrected. Um, that our way is gentler, and and we, and our way is awakening to the remembrance of who we are, which is a spiritual being. And I think we talked about that last week, or maybe in one of the I think Dove, you said in one of the Thursday sessions I sat in on that, I'm not a body. And it was so clear to me. Yeah, and in that moment it was, oh, I got it. I'm not a body. And that was, Jesus's lesson. Again, I don't have it in front of me, but like he was beaten, he was spat upon, he had to carry this cross, he was the ultimate victim and finally crucified. But we don't have to do that. Like our way is gentler. Oh, and yeah, that last useless journey. It's like, no, you don't have to crucify yourself. You don't have to allow yourself to get beat up. Your way can be gentle. And what's the gentleness? Forgiveness. And then he goes into things like the resurrection, um, or what the crucifixion was supposed to teach. It was an extreme learning example, but it was misunderstood. And instead of focusing on the resurrection, the focus became the crucifixion. Look at what you're doing to me, you stupid people. Did anybody see The Life of Brian? Did we talk about The Life of Brian? The Life of Brian was a
Yes.
Monty Python movie. So that the last scene in the Monty, I'm giving away the end if you haven't seen it. The last scene in the Monty Python movie, The Life of Brian, and I'm sure I mentioned it. Yes, like Brian was a poor schnook who was kind of misunderstood or to be a messiah. And he tries to prove, no, I'm not a Messiah, I'm not a Messiah. And, goes through the whole movie. And then finally at the end, he is crucified. And then there's somebody, this other guy on another cross. And the guy starts singing, like, oh, cheer up, it's not that bad. And there they are hanging on a cross. And the guy starts singing, always look on the bright side of life. And I just look at that, and that's a spiritual message. Always look on the bright side of life, no matter what trials, tribulations, whatever you think you're going through, look on the bright side. And to go back to what Dove said, you're not a body. You're acting out whatever you need to act out here to go through your journey. And you said something else, that we came here because we feel guilty. Is
Yes.
that right? You're here. Yeah. So, putting those together, you don't have to act on your guilt. You don't have to see the world through the eyes of guilt. You see the world through the eyes of forgiveness. So that was my little diatribe to begin with. And I had to move on from that. So thank you for bringing that up, Susan. That was, that's such an important teaching. Teach only love, for that is what you are. And because you're innocent, and because you're not a body, and because you don't feel guilty, there's nothing to be afraid of. And right now in the 3D world, there's talk about, Armageddon, nuclear stuff, and like, okay, let it all go. There's nothing to be afraid of. So I'm not buying into any of that. And, what's the song? Don't worry, be happy. Or we just, in the daily lessons, I just finished the lesson a couple of lessons ago, light and peace and joy abide in me. So focus on that, focus on, who I really am. And given who I really am, my book is finally out. It is available on Amazon. Let's see, it's called Intimacy, the Sacred Space Between Us. Essays on love and intimacy, inspired by, guess what? A Course in Miracles. And I did have permission to use Course in Miracles to use quotes from A Course in Miracles in this work. And the whole idea, intimacy, the sacred space between us, explores love as both a human experience and a spiritual path. I'm reading from the Amazon site. Drawing, maybe I could do a share my screen. Let me come back here. Sometimes sharing my screen is awkward. Okay, share. And, oh, where are you? Okay, share. It should come up. Okay, you should be able to see. This is the Amazon site. You should be able to see this. So I'm reading, this is the synopsis. Drawing decades of teaching about sexuality, relationships, and personal growth, psychologist Sorah Dubitsky invites readers to rediscover intimacy as the living space that exists between two people. In a culture that often separates sex from love and connection, Dubitsky offers a different vision. Through thoughtful essays and personal reflections, she examines how intimacy grows through trust, vulnerability, emotional connection, and shared experience. She also explores how physical desire, eros, and spiritual awareness, essence, can work together to deepen relationships and awaken a reader to see love not simply as an emotion, but as a way of being. And I'm reading this and saying, wow, this sounds good. I ought to get this book. Each essay stands alone while also tracing a journey from attraction and relationship challenges to the possibility of transcendence through connection. At its heart, intimacy, the sacred space between us, reminds us that love is not something we find outside ourselves. It is something we practice, nurture, and ultimately become. So that is available on Amazon. It's a little book. I'm calling it a mini book. That was the intention when I first started. It's only like was 84 pages. I don't even have it. I have not seen it yet. So I just ordered 15 copies. And I'll leave it at that. So I'm gonna stop sharing and think about, what do I mean by intimacy? There's one line I always quote, and I don't want to break this to go there. It's something like seeing ourselves in another, or our job as teachers of God, our job as spiritual beings, is to see the divine in another, to hold everyone in that space of their divinity. And then when we do that, that gets mirrored back to us. There's a section in the text talks about, something about the mirror. Looking in the mirror darkly. And I don't recall what it is, but it's, when we look, how do we look upon others? Like Jesus on the cross, did he look upon others and saying, you stupid idiots, look at you, what are you doing to me? How do we look on others? And do we look on others as separate from ourselves? As egos, as personas, as people we have to defend ourselves against. How many of us walk through the world in a defensive posture, waiting for something bad to happen? There's a quote about that that will come to me, when, are we waiting for the good to happen, or are we waiting for the bad to happen? Like the sword of Damocles, hanging over our heads. And the idea here is to look at everyone through, as a mirror of love. And that love, and then we act from the love. We don't act from the darkness. Any comments, questions? I'll stop for a moment. How do we want to see ourselves in another? And then, that becomes, or that gets magnified in us bigger. So what I was talking about before is the sacred space between us. It's the energy exchange that occurs between people. And one of the stories, I think it's I recount in the book, there's only like 15 or 16 essays, so it's really a short read. One of them talks about, and I think I talked about this also because I remember asking Dove, do you remember a guy named Martin who lived on Long Island? Martin something, and he was into dowsing. And he was measuring, so do you know what dowsing rods are? They I don't know, energy enhancers. It's like they're like pendulums. You can ask them a question, and they'll either separate more for a no, or they'll cross over for a yes answer. And or they measure energy. They used to use dowsing rods to find water. So he was using these dowsing rods to measure or to people's energy fields. Or I think he called it their angel wings. And these dowsing rods, that's what they did. He would, go closer to people, and they would vibrate or cross, as he got further and further away from them, and then they would stop, they'd go back to normal. And sometimes these energy fields, was like 6 feet outside of the person or outside of the body. And I know I talk about this when these energy fields that we carry with us communicate. And those of us who are sensitive, like kind of, you're back. Those of us who are sensitive can feel the energy fields of another people. That's what a good healer is. A good healer can feel what's going on, beyond the physical level, at that level of energy. So we carry these energy fields with us. And to be aware that's what the sacred space is between us. That's what I was writing about. So being aware of these energy fields, it changes our reality. And imagine when we don't know the impact we have on others. That's like the nature of the world. We don't, 3D reality. We're not aware that even at that energetic level, I'm moving my hands out. We're still impacting. If we're not saying a word, we're still impacting the energy around us just by, being love and sending out like vibrations of love, or being fearful. And that's a choice we have. Again, does anybody want to say anything, add anything? 2:56. I wanted to make sure I ended a little bit earlier today. Any thoughts? Susan? Thanks for hanging out. Your hand's up. Go for it.
Yeah, Sora, thank you for your teaching. You're so wonderful. I wrote a couple chats in the chat room. I love your book. Your book looks totally amazing. And I didn't know you were a psychologist. That's wonderful. Beautiful.
PhD.
And yeah, and very impressive. Thank you for sharing that. And I wanted to read what Lynn wrote out loud because it's so inspiring. Lynn Johnson just wrote in the chat room, the name of Jesus is the name of one who was a man, but saw the face of Christ in all his brothers and remembered God. For some reason, it just touched me. I guess my heart is open right now. Thank you, Lynn. So he
Thank you, Lynn.
became
I'm sorry, I had shrunk my screen so I could have two things open at the same time. So I missed that chat, but that's exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm
You
good.
know,
Yeah,
who
and
go
there's
ahead
more. Can you see it, Sora? She wrote,
is
so he became identified with Christ, a man no longer, but at one with God. The man was an illusion, for he seemed to be a separate being walking by himself within a body that appeared to hold his self with a small s from self with a capital S, as all illusions do. Yet who can save unless he sees illusions and then identifies them as what they are? Jesus remains a savior because he saw the false without accepting it as true. And Christ needed his form that he might appear to men and save them from their own illusions. So he saw the false, he saw the ego's perceptions without accepting these as true. So beautiful.
and exactly. And in another section, review 5, like my favorite section in the whole workbook, where he calls on us. Well, he talks about a savior stays to to guide those who came after him, and I'm paraphrasing that, but he says literally, you are my hands, my feet, my eye, again paraphrasing, my eyes, my ears. You are an extension of that Christ love that he demonstrated on the course. And that, yeah, and I was that where that came from, Lynn? From that review 5? I'm looking
ACIM, ACIM
It's
chapter
from
5, paragraph 2, verse 1 through 6. Is that right,
chapter
Lynn?
5.
it's
Okay.
it's no, it's not chapter 5. It's the clarification of term.
Clarification of terms. Okay.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
like what I couldn't, what's the C? What's the C? Okay. Clarification of terms. Um, yeah, what I don't think he actually uses the word you got it wrong. That was something my husband used to say. But what got misconstrued was the crucifixion rather than the resurrection, and the guilt the crucifixion brought up in everyone everyone to think that Jesus is going to come back and hurt you, and that or kill everybody who didn't believe in him. I mean, that whole idea, again, I'll use the word misconstrued, that Jesus is this warring presence, this hurtful presence, like even in the vernacular, even if you're not using Jesus, one of the core thought thought forms in this 3D world is God's going to get you. I always quote, do you remember this TV show Maud? Okay, so that was what she was saying, to Walter, her husband, God's gonna get you. And that's his belief that we're gonna be punished for something, that whole idea of sin and guilt and fear, and I was just sort of Paul Steinberg. Yeah, sin, guilt. You had the idea was to turn, we came here with this belief in sin, guilt, and fear, This is Paul Steinberg's teaching. And the idea is to turn that into laugh. What's laugh? Love and forgiveness. Do you remember that, Duff? Sin, guilt, and fear. The correction is laugh, love, and forgiveness. And I always remember that because that is our function here. And something else Dove said, or he highlighted this week. I got this, and I really needed to see this. You're not a teacher, you're an awakener, right? And that was on TikTok, I think, but I found it was either in my news feed because I'm not active on TikTok yet, and I will call you and I need to ask you about that. But that in that moment, things hit us, and I'm pointing to my heart, things hit us in the heart. That's what how do we become an awakener? We become an awakener not by, words, although that might be our guidance. We become an awakener by demonstrating laugh, love, and forgiveness. And to go back to what the book is about, when we change our aura, that's another word we could use, or energy field, from defensiveness, a defensive posture, to a loving posture that communicates. People get it, and maybe it's an active process, like smiling at a checkout counter person, although they're becoming fewer, but smiling at them because they put up with a lot of people. Or so we say something nice, or a waitress, or either, but we don't have to say anything nice. We don't have to actively do anything, but it's just, that's what some of those essays in the book are about. We're just being that presence of peace, being that presence of love. One of the people I quote is Eric Fromm, like from the 1930s, 1940s. He wrote a book called The Art of Loving, and he was a psychologist or psychiatrist. He was one of those, I think, psychologist. And he talks about love as a way of being, as a thing to be practiced, as an active practice. And so I tell some stories about that, and stories about being married. Susan, you're married. Marriage is wonderful, and at times can be difficult. and Larry and I had a marriage that was actively grounded in the Course. And I quote Eric Fromm because it working on that relationship was an active process. Love is something that is a practice, is a spiritual practice. And what was our process? Always stay in communication with the Holy Spirit. That which is I look at the Holy Spirit as our telephone to God. The umbilical cord that keeps us connected to, and what's God, that field that we're a part of, and that's the field that I'm talking about. So it's a little bit after 3. Again, comments, questions? Dove, you're muted.
I just want to say that's true about you and Larry. You had a wonderful relationship grounded in the Course. That's so true. So true.
We got together.
Yeah, and I think you even practice Eric Fromm too.
Practice Eric Fromm, yes. a lot of people, Joseph Campbell, yeah, Carol May. I mean, we, in the book, one of the essays talks, just mentions a lot of different people, who all say the same thing. And I guess what I'm, where I'm going with this, that love is a vibration. It's a frequency. And that's part of the sacred space between us. And I'm, you mentioned Larry. Today would have been, and I'm going to cry. Today would have been his 100th birthday. He was born in 1926.
Who, Larry?
Yeah, Larry. So he would have been, well, he was 93 when he passed.
I have beautiful memories of Larry.
She was a teacher, and he worked at it. And before the course, just as an aside, my husband, before the course, he was so like volatile that he was very loving and giving, and he had 4 kids, and they all loved him, and then he could explode instantly. I mean, he was also an Aries, you see, in today's Aries, and he told me, like, in the old days of before even I got involved with the course, in the old days, there used to be fights would break out at some of the meetings over what it meant. Think about that. But what I was going to say is it was his inspiration for what this book is, because he used to say all the time that relationships exist in this space between people. And so that became the basis of this, of my essays, of the book, of this collection of essays. I have many more essays. But these were all about love and connection, and that's what I want to talk about. That the importance of spiritual practice is great. Somebody say this, maybe Ram Dass. Spiritual practice is great when you're all alone and you're meditating, and you're like you're on the mountain and you're away from everything. It's really easy to be spiritual. But the A Course in Miracles came to New York City, busy New York City, to Jewish people, which I always find ironic. And it was like it came to the marketplace, and it's to be practiced, in the marketplace. We're really, yeah, there are meditations involved, but we're really not asked to go anywhere unless that's our guidance for some reason. And some people are guided to make changes in their life. I was guided to make changes in my life. But wherever you are, in some book, there you are, wherever you are, that, God goes with you wherever you go. Holy Spirit goes with you wherever you go. The teaching goes with you wherever you go. I say this a lot, as we practice the teaching, we come to embody the teaching. What I mean by that, we become the demonstration. I don't have to actively talk to people like I did in the beginning, like, oh, you need to find this book and it's going to change your life. You need to practice A Course in Miracles. No, we be the Course in Miracles. And what does that mean? We practice love. We ask for guidance. We become, to say a force for good, it's like too pat. But we embody this energy or frequency of love, and that communicates. And that's what the whole idea of the book is, intimacy. And the thing I say, that what intimacy is has very little to do with sex. You can be intimate during sex or not. Like, just because your bodies are rubbing together does not mean that you're being intimate, because intimacy is being fully present, and even in sex, because I teach sex ed, I have my videos up about sex. But even in sex, what creates intimacy is this idea of presence, being fully present here now, connecting to the inner spirit, connecting to the higher self, and just being in a state of being. And when we're in a state of being, present in the moment, presence, then we're being intimate, because then we can really see or feel or hear what someone else is. And like, even if any of us have ever made love, and that's the essence of love, being fully present, being in that vibrational frequency of where you're one, where you're at the same place. But I don't want to digress too much. Anyway, it's about 10 after, and I think unless anyone has, and thank you for staying. Susan, thank you for saying so much. I really appreciate it. Dove, I appreciate when you're here and we can have a conversation. And I'm Lynn, of course. Lynn, thank you for your heart and what all the love you put into this. And I'm sorry I missed the meeting you had on Sunday. Wherever I was. But I know you work hard in this, and your love comes through. So let's see. Oh, right, the Bodhisattva. I talk about that. Love what you said, intimacy is being fully present. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Susan. Your hand's up. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, I love what you just said right there. Intimacy is being fully present, because that's just, I don't know, just to embrace that, to be fully present in the moment that we're in. I mean, that's what we're all craving. That's what I look for when I'm connecting with anyone. And you're right. I mean, sex is just two bodies, but intimacy is of the heart, and it can be
That's
romantic or
right.
platonic, but that
Right.
connection, I think, is what we're all craving. In
Yeah.
order to be able to connect fully and be fully present with someone else, we need to be fully present with ourselves first.
Oh,
But that's just
right.
so well said, Sorah. I
Thank
love
you.
that.
Thank
And I
you.
just need to be aware of that, you know, to be, and yeah, it's just, so important to honor that. And so many people don't do that. So many people are distracted and going and busy. And to be just fully present, like with myself and with whomever I'm with, it's just such an empowering mindset. Thank you for saying that, Sorah.
That's so important, because some people are, and I've experienced this, and you're talking, and then you're so busy constructing your own response to what they're saying that you miss that connection, because you're not with them. You're in your own head. Okay, a couple of commercials. So the book is available on Amazon, yay. And it's a free download, or you could purchase it for download. That's only $4.99. There's a paperback edition, $12.99, and a hardcover edition, $18.99. So, and you could read that synopsis on Amazon. It's still hard to find. But if you go to if you're on Amazon and you plug in books, that you don't want all of the departments, you just want the books department, and then you put Sorah Dubitsky and intimacy, it should come right up. If you can't find it, send me an email. I will send you the direct link. And my email is Sorah Dubitsky, one word, at gmail.com. So that's one commercial. Second commercial, the videos that I do with my partner, just got off the phone with her, Carolina, a former student. And we have some really good videos about sex and relationships. And let's see, we did one about disability. We did one about the future of men. We did one about um, why Gen Z isn't having children. You know, stuff that I cover in my sex ed class. So there's about maybe almost a dozen videos up there now, and we're looking to expand them because good, solid sex education is what not that available. So we want to expand it. It's and when I see what we're doing, it's like, wow, this is really good. This is really useful. So that website or a YouTube page is Let's Talk Sex Official is the channel. Let's Talk Sex Official. And then Birds, Bees, and Beyond is, the title of the videos. And they're good. We do talk about love. Some of the earlier ones are exactly what I talked about in A Course in Miracles meeting, group like this. Let's see. Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's Lynn posted the link. Thank you. And I think so I did my 2 commercials and these classes, talks, I would like to get them out more also. Uh, and I actually wanted to do one before the book came out on the holiest place on earth and I think I actually talked about that last week. The holiest place, holiest spot on earth is where an ancient hatred becomes a present love. And it was what the course teaches about, the anger. And I thought it was relevant to, look at the Middle East. It's supposed to be the Holy Land. And, so without saying it's not very holy, according to the course's teachings, but to really talk about how do we find holiness? And holiness is something I say, holiness is an inside job. We are holy. There was a rabbi, Shani Labowitz, a Jewish renewal rabbi. My nose is leaking as it tends to do, and I don't think I have a tissue. So Rabbi Shani used to introduce a song in her services. And the song lyric, I don't remember the tune, but the lyric was something like, "Holy, we are holy. We are gods in disguise. We are holy." And that song always resonated with me. And in a way it ties in with what I've been talking about, when we recognize who we are as spirit. And that holiness, has a frequency, that we can't be anything other than holy as spirit. So I think with that, I will close. And yeah, it's a little after 3. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for being here and being in the conversation and sharing your love. That's inspiring to me. And it keeps me going. Of course, when my husband was alive, like for years, we did Course in Miracles groups, and we then, we led them and we gave lectures. So, for years I was in that, and then, life took over, and so now it feels so good to be back in it. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Namaste.
Sorah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Love you guys. Thank you. Love, love, love. And I'm meeting Myrna next week. I'm going over to her place.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
that'll be exciting. Yeah, that'll be exciting.
That's exciting. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sorah. Dubitsky.
Okay, guys, I'll let you
Please,
go.
please stay. Please don't leave. Please don't leave.
Okay.
I'm closing out